Under the cover of darkness, 3 masked men crept toward the gates of Elon Musk's sprawling mansion. It wasn't just any mansion. This was one of the most secure and technologically advanced homes in the world, equipped with cutting-edge AI surveillance and security systems. But the thieves, lured by tales of the billionaire's wealth, believed they had outsmarted the system. Their leader, a man named Rick, had spent weeks studying the estate. "It's all automated," he whispered to his accomplices. "If we move quickly, the system won't even register us. Musk won't know what hit him." The men scaled the fence, unaware that their every move was being monitored. As they crept closer to the main house, they noticed something strange. Lights flickered on and off in the surrounding garden. It was almost as if the house itself was alive, watching them. Rick dismissed it. "It's just motion sensors," he said, waving his hand. "Stay low and follow me." Inside the mansion, Elon Musk was in his study, reviewing plans for a new project. Suddenly, his AI assistant, Jarvis, interrupted. "Sir, there's been a breach on the north side of the property." Elon leaned back in his chair, a curious smile spreading across his face. "Let's see what these intruders are up to," he said, pulling up the live surveillance feed on a tablet. As the thieves approached the rear entrance, the door unlocked with a soft click. Surprised but relieved, Rick muttered, "See? I told you we'd outsmart the system." Little did they know, the unlocked door was no mistake. It was Elon's way of inviting them in, straight into a trap they'd never forget. The thieves stepped cautiously into the mansion, their footsteps echoing against the sleek marble floors. The interior was breathtaking. Walls lined with abstract art, futuristic furniture, and the faint hum of unseen technology. But what caught their attention was the eerie silence. Rick gestured to his accomplices, Pete and Sam, to split up. "You check the left wing," he whispered to Pete. "Sam, take the upper floor. I'll check the main hall. Be quick." As they moved through the house, they noticed something unsettling. Doors opened and closed on their own, lights flickered unpredictably, and faint mechanical sounds seemed to follow them. Sam, on the upper floor, paused by a room with a large glass wall showcasing an advanced robotics lab. Inside, a humanoid robot turned its head and stared at him. Startled, Sam took a step back, bumping into a statue, only to realize it wasn't a statue, but another robot, standing perfectly still. Meanwhile, Pete found himself in a corridor lined with display cases. Each held a piece of Tesla's history, the first roadster, prototypes of SpaceX rockets, and a display labeled Mars Colony Blueprint. As he leaned in for a closer look, the glass fogged up, revealing the words, "You're being watched." Rick, in the main hall, stumbled upon a safe embedded in the wall. "Jackpot," he muttered, pulling out his tools, but as he began working on the lock, a voice echoed through the room. "Having trouble?" Rick froze. The voice wasn't coming from any particular direction. It seemed to surround him. "Who's there?" Rick demanded, his voice trembling. The voice chuckled. "You've entered a house designed by the man who built rockets to Mars. Did you really think you'd get away unnoticed?" Panicked, Rick called out to his accomplices. "Pete, Sam, get back here now." But neither responded. Instead, the room's lights dimmed and the floor beneath Rick began to vibrate. Suddenly, a hologram of Elon Musk appeared before him. "Welcome to my home," the hologram said, its tone calm but menacing. "You've made a grave mistake coming here." Rick's confidence crumbled as the reality of their situation set in. This wasn't just a mansion, it was a fortress, and they were now at the mercy of its creator. Rick bolted toward the door, but it slammed shut before he could reach it. His breath quickened as the hologram of Elon followed him, its presence looming large despite its intangible form. "You broke in, thinking you were clever?" the hologram said, its tone sharper now. "Let's see how clever you really are." In the upstairs hallway, Sam frantically searched for an exit. The walls seemed to shift, turning the once familiar corridor into a disorienting maze. The robot he had seen earlier appeared again, this time moving toward him. Its eyes glowed faintly, scanning him. Please, Sam shouted, backing away. I don't want any trouble. The robot paused, tilting its head, before emitting a calm but firm voice. Your presence here is unauthorized. Return to the main hall. A panel on the wall slid open, revealing a direct path. Pete, meanwhile, had ventured into the kitchen where he hoped to find a back door. Instead, he was greeted by a strange buzzing sound. Above him, a drone hovered silently, its camera lens focused squarely on his face. A moment later, the drone projected a beam of light onto the wall, displaying footage of him and his accomplices climbing over the fence. Caught in 4K, a synthesized voice quipped from the drone. Pete froze as a series of locks clicked into place, trapping him in the room. Back in the main hall, Rick's panic turned to desperation. Look, I didn't mean any harm, he pleaded with the hologram. We needed the money. Please, let us go. The hologram's expression softened slightly. Desperation doesn't justify crime, it said. But I believe in second chances, if you're willing to face the consequences and change. Just then, Pete and Sam were escorted into the hall by the robots. The three men exchanged nervous glances, realizing they had no control over what would happen next. Now, the hologram continued, let's see if you're truly willing to make amends. Before they could respond, the floor beneath them shifted, and they found themselves descending into an underground chamber filled with technology they couldn't begin to understand. On a large screen, Elon Musk's live image appeared. This time, it wasn't a hologram. It was him, watching from an undisclosed location. You're about to experience something that will change your lives forever, Elon said, his gaze piercing. But first, you need to learn the value of integrity. The room was eerily silent as Elon's image flickered on the massive screen. Rick, Pete, and Sam exchanged wary glances, unsure of what was coming next. I don't believe in punishing people for mistakes, Elon began, his voice calm but firm. I believe in giving people a chance to grow, to redeem themselves, but that's earned, not given. Behind the men, a wall lit up to reveal 3 separate pods, each labeled with their names. The robots motioned for them to step forward. What are these? Pete asked nervously, his voice cracking. Your test, Elon replied simply. Inside each pod is a simulation. You'll face scenarios designed to challenge your character, your honesty, your courage, and your willingness to do the right thing, even when it's difficult. Rick stepped back, shaking his head. This is insane. We didn't sign up for this. You signed up the moment you broke into my home, Elon countered, his tone unwavering. Think of it as a second chance, or walk away, and I'll ensure you're reported to the authorities immediately. Sam hesitated, glancing at the pods. And if we pass? Elon's image leaned in closer, his expression softening. If you pass, you'll leave here with more than you ever imagined. Knowledge, resources, and an opportunity to start fresh. But if you fail... He didn't finish the sentence, letting the weight of his words hang in the air. Reluctantly, the men approached their pods. Each pod's door slid open, revealing a dimly lit interior. The air inside was cool and sterile, and the walls pulsed faintly with light. Step in, the robots instructed. Rick swallowed hard and entered his pod first, followed by Pete and Sam. The doors closed behind them with a hiss, and darkness enveloped them. Then, one by one, their simulations began. Rick found himself in a bustling marketplace, holding a wallet stuffed with cash. A young child tugged on his sleeve, tears streaming down their face as they pointed to a fallen ice cream cone. The money in his hands wasn't his, and he knew it. But would he return it, or use it to comfort the child? Pete, meanwhile, stood at the edge of a rocky cliff. Below him, a man clung desperately to a ledge, shouting for help. Pete could feel the ground beneath him trembling. Helping the man might mean risking his own life. Would he take the chance? Sam's test was different. He sat in a dimly lit office, a pen in his hand and a contract before him. The contract promised wealth beyond his wildest dreams, but signing it meant betraying someone he cared about. The choice was his. Your decisions will determine your future, Elon's voice echoed in their minds. Choose wisely. The simulations grew more intense with each passing moment, pushing the men to their limits. As the scenarios unfolded, they began to understand the weight of their choices, not just in the simulation, but in their lives. Would they rise to the challenge, or would their flaws lead to their downfall? Only time would tell. Inside the pods, the tension was unbearable. Rick's heart raced as he stared at the crying child, his mind torn between right and wrong. The wallet in his hand felt heavier with every second. He knew what he had to do, but temptation whispered in his ear. This isn't real, he muttered to himself. It's just a test. But deep down, it felt all too real. Finally, with trembling hands, Rick knelt and handed the child enough money for a new ice cream. He clutched the rest tightly, walking toward a police station he'd spotted earlier. I'll return this, he thought, a mixture of guilt and relief washing over him. Pete, meanwhile, was paralyzed by fear. The man below him screamed louder, his grip slipping. Pete glanced around desperately, searching for something to help. There was a rope nearby, but reaching it meant turning his back to the cliff. His instincts screamed to protect himself, but the man's pleas echoed in his ears. With a deep breath, Pete lunged for the rope, nearly losing his balance. He tied it to a sturdy rock and lowered it, his muscles straining as he pulled the man to safety. Collapsing on the ground, Pete gasped for air, his chest pounding with adrenaline. In his dimly lit office, Sam stared at the contract in front of him. The pen in his hand hovered over the dotted line. The offer was irresistible. A mansion, millions of dollars, and freedom from all his struggles. But the clause below chilled him. It demanded he sabotage his closest friend's reputation. Tears welled up in his eyes as he thought of his friend's loyalty over the years. I can't do this, he whispered, pushing the contract away. The screen flickered, and Elon's voice rang out. Interesting choice, he said, his tone unreadable. The pods suddenly opened, flooding the room with light. Rick, Pete, and Sam stumbled out, their faces pale and their bodies trembling. They looked at each other, silently wondering how the others had fared. Elon's image appeared on the massive screen again, his expression neutral. You've all faced your demons today, he said. But the real question is, did you learn from them? Before they could respond, the screen switched to a live feed of their simulations. The men watched in stunned silence as their actions played out before them. Rick's decision to return the wallet, Pete's heroic rescue, and Sam's refusal to betray his friend, all of it was laid bare. You were given a choice, Elon continued, his voice firm but not unkind. And each of you chose integrity over selfishness. That's rare. The men exchanged glances, a flicker of hope sparking in their eyes. Your tests are complete, Elon announced. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning. Follow the robots. Your new lives await. As the robots led them toward an unseen destination, the men couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and curiosity. What exactly had they earned, and how would it change their futures? They had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. Their encounter with Elon Musk had forever altered the course of their lives.